So, hello everybody. Good day. It's Bhante Joe here, and just here in Pickering, Ontario on Friday. I think it's the 30th of November. And so I thought to record a little video for the internet. And so first thought that could start with a little bit of meditation, so we can just kind of get our back a little bit straight and look about 3 feet in front of us and close our eyes. And we can spread thoughts of goodwill, starting with our right hand side, wishing may all beings to my right be happy and at ease. May they put in place the causes necessary to be happy and at ease. And we can make our minds infinite, can make them unbounded, all the way to the ends of the universe and beyond. In every dimension, may all beings to my right be happy and at ease. And we can spread thoughts of goodwill to our right hand side and our left hand side. May all beings to my right and my left be happy and at ease. May they put in place the causes necessary to be happy and at ease. And we can make our minds infinite, can make them unbounded, all the way to the ends of the universe and beyond. In every dimension, may all beings to my right and my left be happy and at ease. And we can spread thoughts of goodwill to our right hand side, to our left hand side, and in front. May all beings to my right, my left, and in front be happy and at ease. May they put in place the causes necessary to be happy and at ease. And we can make our minds infinite, can make them unbounded, all the way to the ends of the universe and beyond. In every dimension, may all beings to my right, my left, and in front be happy and at ease. And we can spread thoughts of goodwill to our right hand side, our left hand side, in front, behind, in all 4 directions. May all beings in all 4 directions be happy and at ease. May they put in place the causes necessary to be happy and at ease. And we can make our minds infinite, can make them unbounded, all the way to the ends of the universe and beyond. In every dimension, may all beings in all 4 directions be happy and at ease. Okay, and we can spread thoughts of goodwill to our right hand side, our left hand side, in front, behind, and above. May all beings in all four directions and above be happy and at ease. May they put in place the causes necessary to be happy and at ease. And we can make our minds infinite, can make them unbounded, all the way to the ends of the universe and beyond. In every dimension, may all beings in all four directions and above be happy and at ease. And we can spread thoughts of goodwill to our right hand side, our left hand side, in front, behind, above, below, all around in every direction everywhere. May all beings all around in every direction everywhere be happy and at ease. May they put in place the causes necessary to be happy and at ease. And we can make our minds infinite, can make them unbounded, all the way to the ends of the universe and beyond. In every dimension, may all beings all around everywhere be happy and at ease. Okay, and can open our eyes. And maybe do a short reflection on the Dhamma. Actually, a short Dhamma discussion today. So, talk a bit about that. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhaṃ saranang gacchāmi, Dhammāṃ saranang gacchāmi, Sanghaṃ saranang gacchāmi. Dutiyampi Buddhaṃ saranang gacchāmi, Dutiyampi Dhammāṃ saranang gacchāmi, Dutiyampi Sanghaṃ saranang gacchāmi. Tatiyampi Buddhaṃ saranang gacchāmi, Tatiyampi Dhammāṃ saranang gacchāmi, Tatiyampi Sanghaṃ saranang gacchāmi. So, hope everybody is doing well all over the world, since this is internet, wherever you may be. And so today, thought we could try something a little bit different. Since coming to the GTA, I've been going to a lot of temples in the Sri Lankan tradition, and they have a very strong tradition of Dhamma discussion. And this is in the suttas, where the Buddha says, he recommends that quite a lot. There's one sutta where he says that there's four things, when they're rightly coordinated, result in awakening, as far as I remember the sutta. And he says that one is the right listening to the Dhamma, the second one is discussing the Dhamma, and the third one is the time for serenity, the fourth one is the time for insight. So the time for listening to the Dhamma, time for discussing the Dhamma, time for serenity, and the time for insight. And so from what I've seen at the temples I've been to, and also there's examples of these Dhamma discussions in the suttas. Usually the way it works is kind of like it's like a Q&A, where people will ask questions, the monk will answer, or the bhikkhu or whoever it is will answer the question, and then there can be some comments, some back and forth like that. And this is a good way to help clear up any questions there might be, help to clarify things about Buddhist doctrine and Buddhist practice. So I'd put out a question on Facebook earlier to see if anybody had any questions, and also a friend of mine emailed, asked him if he had any questions, and so he did. And this is a question from Marcelo Lince, and his question is, I understand that the actual workings of Kamma are largely unexplainable unless one potentially attains direct knowledge of it through awakening, but that not every awakened person would necessarily know how Kamma specifically works in every case. Is this correct? Yeah, so this is basically correct, sounds right. It's basically Kamma, to know the exact causes that led a person to a particular result is something that's said to be only a Buddha can trace, and kind of not every, trace specifically in every instance. Not every awakened person, not everybody who's an arahant would necessarily have this kind of psychic ability to do this, although maybe some people can to a greater or lesser extent, I don't know, even if they're not arahants, if they have this kind of psychic ability. But the point being that this deals specifically with finding out the specifics of why a person is there. So, if you see a person who's born into a wealthy family, then knowing the specific action or set of actions that and when they were taken that led to that particular result ripening. So in other words, the specifics of it. Although the general aspects of Kamma are things that somebody can know. So that's true. And then he goes on, unless one has such direct knowledge, would it be misleading to conclude that people who are financially poor, socially or racially discriminated against, are thus due to their Kamma? For example, some indigenous people in Canada and other similar groups worldwide who face socioeconomic and political constraints leading to apparent insurmountable poverty, addiction, violence, and despair, is it not wrong to assume this is their Kamma? Okay, so that's the second question. And so Kamma is an interesting thing in that the specifics of why each of these people there are something that a person can't work out unless they're a Buddha. If they're a Buddha, they can know, okay, this person ended up here, or there, because they did X, Y, or Z, or their whatever it is. But the general aspects in terms of Kamma just being cause and effect, that's something that can be known. So basically, if we're born somewhere, that the fact that we're even born and we haven't attained Nibbana, that's due to our Kamma. If we're born as a human, that's due to our Kamma. In other words, we put the causes into place to be in whatever situation we're in. One of the things about Kamma is that it can be taken to be a kind of like fatalism. In other words, somebody is in a particular situation, it's like that's their fate, that's their Kamma. But it doesn't necessarily mean that just because a person is in a bad situation, somehow they deserve that situation in the sense that no effort should be made to help them, or they should be looked down upon because because they're in a bad situation. Actually, the way that Kamma works is kind of like planting seeds in a field, and we don't really know when those seeds are going to ripen. So Lung Pu Man, who was very psychic, kind of the founder of the forest tradition, he would sometimes say that there's some animals, some hungry ghosts, who have more good Kamma than humans do, and kind of just that their good Kamma hasn't ripened yet. So it's like these kind of seeds in a field, whatever might have done some bad set of things in the past or had some bad intentions in the past that ripen in a bad rebirth at a particular time. But there still could be good seeds in the past that could ripen later on to lead these people to a good result. So it's not something to be looking down on them as if this is them, this is their fate. The other thing is that there's an aspect of Kamma that's in the past, but there's also an aspect of Kamma in the present. So in other words, that the fact that they're in difficulty, that's something that they were born into as part of their past Kamma. But if a person becomes callously indifferent, say, and thinks that they're better than people like that, or that people like that who are facing difficulty always deserve to face difficulty, this becomes the present Kamma of the person who's thinking it. In other words, they can generate bad Kamma for themselves by kind of thinking they're superior, thinking these things could never happen to them, classifying themselves in a class above other people. And this comes from not knowing about the way these kind of kammic seeds work. In other words, somebody who's really successful right now could have bad kammic seeds ripening that they don't know about, and their success could fall away. And we see this happening in the world quite often. And people who are successful today may not be successful in a year, 2 years, in a month, in a week. Just never know when these kind of things are going to happen. And so the appropriate attitude is to look at people not in terms of their, say, present situation, like whether they're facing difficulty, whether they're poor or rich. It's to look at them in terms of their present intentions. Do they have intentions to be good people? Do they have intentions to move forward in developing in wholesome qualities? Because for one thing, this is what leads to all the benefits that people sometimes boost themselves up over. But the other thing is that these qualities are the ones that are really important because they lead us onwards to the Dhamma. So the Buddha teaches us more or less to look at. He teaches that there's people who are kind of in a dark state headed for more dark states. There's people who are in a good state headed for dark states. There's people who are in a dark state headed for a good state, and there's people who are in a good state headed for a good state. And the thing that cuts across all these things is if people are in a bad state, they're born really poor, in a terrible war-torn country, and they develop evil intentions to do bad things, that leads them onwards to even worse things, If they're in a really bad, terrible, war-torn country, whatever it is, and they develop very good intentions, they become very good people, that leads them onwards to good things. Similarly, if somebody's born into a really wealthy country and they develop really bad intentions to do terrible things, that leads them onwards towards bad things. And similarly, there can be people who are actually very wealthy, very successful, all these things, but they actually have, they have very good, bright minds, and do very good things, helping a lot of people with their wealth, with their power. And these are people who are headed towards more good states. So in other words, we want to associate with the people who are doing good things, regardless of the condition of their birth. And you don't really need to go judging ourselves as better or worse, but in terms of the people we want to associate with, it doesn't really matter so much if they're rich or poor or their condition. It matters whether they're good people, or whether they're people who have intentions to develop wholesome things in their life. And so the other interesting thing is that present Kamma can play a role, because it's not just the case that if somebody's in a war-torn country, it means that they did something bad in the past that made them go there. Sometimes at the moment of death, people can grab onto ideas if they have bad, wrong views, and that leads them to be born in particular places. So somebody, for example, who might be a kind of, an activist for native rights and they're constantly thinking about being born in this situation, being in this situation. That kind of desire can sometimes lead a person to be reborn in that situation. It's where the mind rushes out to, for one thing. Then there's also the force of past Kamma. So in other words, it's complex. It's not something you can necessarily say, these people are good or bad, but regardless of where they're born, the fact that they're born is due to their Kamma. That's their Kamma. And so the last question is, similarly, as climate change is real, as it is here and now, is this our collective Kamma manifesting? Is it possible to say that? So that's another interesting question about collective Kamma, because indeed there is a kind of a social force to all these things. So, just the fact, for example, if somebody is born in a very stable country, like Canada, with a well-developed system, rule of law, then their opportunity to do evil or to do gross acts of, say, like murder, is a lot less. They were born into a country where there's a war going on, then actually just the collective force of that society can push a person to do evil. If you get drafted as a soldier, then people are very likely to end up killing somebody in that situation, do a bad thing. So in other words, there is this kind of collective Kamma at work. In other words, we're born into a society, and many people in that society have contributed to its being the way that it is. And there's benefits that come from that, but there's also disadvantages. So in other words, the fact that now if there's climate change and the world is getting warmer, okay, so we're actually, many people in different societies are reaping the benefits, what we call the kind of short-term benefits of that. People are driving in cars with gas and all these things, and everybody contributes to that a little bit. And then, of course, if there's collective kamma in terms of the planet getting warmer, then everybody also faces the disadvantages of that. So this is another aspect of kamma that can come into play. It's kind of this kamma on a larger scale where many people contribute to a particular result, to a particular thing happening, but maybe only contribute a small piece, or even sometimes feel the effects of what past generations did. This can be an example of our collective kamma, although it's our individual kamma that gets us born into that situation, that kind of chooses that potential out of the many potentials to get us there. So in other words, the workings out of it are complex, which is why the Buddha basically recommends us to focus on just learning to cultivate good kamma, good and wholesome thoughts wherever we are, and learning to do good things and avoid bad things. Because this is basically what will lead our minds onwards to better results, and that spreads out from us to other people. So rather than looking at entire groups of people and trying to judge whether it comes from this particular thing that they might have done in past lives or what it is, it's impossible to work out. We learn to look at people and situations in terms of their potential to allow us to grow in wholesome qualities, in terms of their potential to allow us to grow in the Dhamma. So it becomes less a question of whether somebody's in a poor country or rich country, whether they had this come in the past, that come in the past. It's, do they have the intention to move forward in wholesome qualities? And if so, what can I learn from them? How can I help them? And these kind of things. And so all of this becomes a kind of balance, for us, where it kind of all comes back to our own practice, which is why the Buddha has a simile where there's these two acrobats. There's an older one and a younger one. And the older one says, okay, you watch out for me, I'll watch out for you, and we'll both get up the pole, we'll take care of ourselves, we'll do our trick, and we'll come down and get our reward. And the younger one says, no, I'll watch out for myself, I'll take care of myself, you take care of yourself, and we'll both come off the pole and we'll collect our reward. And the Buddha says that in that case, the younger acrobat was correct. In other words, we just look out for our own intentions. I mean, it also encompasses other people, especially we're learning to give. We learn to give to other people, but the main thing we always look at is how wholesome or unwholesome qualities are arising in our own minds. How our associations with people generate wholesome or unwholesome qualities. And so that can cut through a lot of the dangers that come with trying to paint broad strokes of people in terms of this person is this way because of their kamma, they're that way because of their kamma, I'm this way because of my kamma, I'm this type of person. It just becomes more of a question of what's wholesome or unwholesome, what's necessary for me to grow in the Dhamma or decline, what's necessary for me to gain more happiness or gain less happiness. And in this way, taking care of ourselves, taking care of our own morality, taking care of our own generosity towards others, taking care of our own meditation, that spreads outwards into other people that we interact with. And it also avoids the potential dangers of activism where it can become oppressive, and kind of labeling people as good or bad, trying to destroy people to win a campaign, or the dangers of apathy towards other people, kind of just thinking this is this way because of their kamma. If I can help this person, if it's part of my dana parami, then I will. And so that's how in developing ourselves, we help develop other people. And as the Buddha says, we, like the acrobats, we do our trick on the pole and we learn to come down and safely and collect our reward, which is the happiness that comes from doing good actions, from having good kamma in our life. Okay, so many merits to Marcelo Lince. It's a good question, several kind of related and good questions to ask. And if anybody has any further comments, you can leave them in the comments box at the bottom. And if anybody has any questions they'd like to see in future videos, can just leave a comment here or email me or contact me on Messenger at bhantejo@gmail.com. Okay, so hope that everybody has a great evening, great day, and wishing you all the best.